wonderful new book out called Gawky, ladies and gentlemen. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Give it up for Miss Margot Lightman. Hi, Chloe is hilarious. Wow. She's great, yeah. So I'm kind of a, well, I live in LA now, but part of the reason I had to leave is the city is very expensive. And I sort of became a scammer when I lived here, like just to get by. Like movies. I went to the movies once and then I pressed on the button, I accidentally pressed the senior citizen rate, which came out to $3 cheaper. And I'm like, well, let's just go with it. And I gave the ticket taker my ticket and they didn't notice. And I was like, well, this is what I'm going to be doing from now on. And I did. And then I got a subscription to AARP magazine, like automatically sent to me, and I was like 25. But, and then I met a guy and I told him about my scam of how I get the senior citizen tickets, and then he kicked it up a notch and taught me that we could get the senior citizen tickets and then sneak into a second movie after the first and really get our money's worth. So obviously we got married. This was like a match made in heaven. And then we started really, like, once we got comfortable, we moved to Upper West Side, and there was this theater that they, in like the 60s, I think, in the Upper West Side, nobody's paying attention there. And we would go to the movies, and we'd sneak into a second, and one time we went, and downstairs at this theater, the ticket taker was also the popcorn popper. So if they were popping popcorn, they wouldn't rip the tickets. And that's what happened, is that we went in, nobody ripped our tickets. We saw Friday the 13th, and then we snuck into Medea Goes to Jail, which was an upgrade from that terrible remake. And then we left with these unripped tickets, and I was like, could we go back? So we go back, and we create this great scam, which is that we came last night to the theater, but my parents, who are senior citizens, ended up canceling at the last minute, and now we have these tickets. Can we use them to go see a movie? And they said, yes. Okay, so then we saw 4 movies for the cost of 1 senior citizen ticket, and that time we saw Borat, and then we snuck into Orphan. Have you guys seen this movie, Orphan? I will summarize it, because it's essential to my story. So, Orphan is a movie about a family, and she's a drunk, and she's accidentally drowned her first child in the lake in the backyard because she was an alcoholic, and now she's getting over it, and they want to adopt another child, but no one will let her adopt a baby because she drowned the first one in an alcoholic mess. So she's got to adopt an older child. So she goes to this orphanage, and they go to adopt this, and they find this little girl named Esther, and they're going to adopt her, but there's something very strange about Esther. I mean, first thing is, like, she's got the velvet ribbon around her neck, which is like, okay, everybody that has that, there's something creepy about them. And so she's got a velvet ribbon, and there's something weird about Esther, and but they adopt her anyway, and she comes home, and things start being weird, like she's drawing strange pictures, and she's being mean to their deaf daughter, and she's trying to seduce her husband, and she's like 8 years old, and that's weird. And slowly it turns out that Esther is not a child at all. The orphan is not a child. She's a 32-year-old woman, but she has this weird growth disorder that makes her look like an 8-year-old. And that's why she's trying to have sex with the husband, because she's 32 and she has needs. And so essentially what happens is this whole thing happens, and then there's a fire, and then the mother again, it's perfect, she drowns Orphan again, purposefully, in the backyard, and this time we all want her to drown her kid in the backyard. And it was really a perfect movie, start to finish. I loved it. And great. And then I got kind of into it, and then I was Googling things after, and I found out that the orphan disease is real, and it's loosely based on a real story about this little girl that had the orphan disease, and she was in her 30s, and she committed crimes as a child and got people to adopt her, but you know, she was a grown woman. So this was just a great part of our marriage, was seeing this movie. And then it goes to be our 1-year anniversary, and we decide we're going to go on a cruise. And I know cruises are cheesy, but I'm sorry, you got to let it go. Like, you can't get on a cruise and start looking at everybody and being like, this is why obesity is an epidemic in America. This is how George W. Bush got elected twice. You can't look at that. You just have to go and look at everybody, and you know what? I'm going to hit the chocolate buffet. I'm going to enter the belly flop contest. I'm going to have a good time. And you have to let it go. So I let it go when I get on this cruise ship down at dock in the 50s in Manhattan. We get there, we get on the boat, we have a full meal, we have cocktails, we have sex, we go down a water slide. The boat hasn't even taken off yet, guys. I was having the time of my life. So finally the boat takes off, and then we're getting ready for the fancy dinner in the dining room. And right before dinner, my husband has snuck on a pot cookie for us to split, and I eat half of it. And we go down to dinner, where we're assigned on a cruise, kind of like this. You're assigned to a table with other people that they think well, on a cruise, it's like who they think you'll get along with. Ugh. So I get there. There's kind of like a couple where the man looks like Ted Bundy and his wife like keeps pushing food away and putting on red lipstick and saying things like, don't want to eat too many calories. And then there's this other couple across from us from the south, and he keeps rating everything. He's like, oh, this is a good appetizer, but have you had the appetizers at Outback? And Outback was like the standard of good food. And he kept talking about Outback. And there was 2 empty seats across from us. And we're having appetizers, but we're not ordering the entrees because we're waiting for them. And finally they come, and I'm not really paying attention. And then I look across, and it's a man and his girlfriend. Except she's not really like a girlfriend. I don't know. She's a child in a woman's body. She has the orphan disease. I'm just gonna say it. She has the orphan disease. Okay, like it's a girl, but it's a woman. Like she's wearing like a child-size outfit, but she has a woman face, and it's fucking terrifying. And like right in that moment, I swear to God, the pot cookie kicked in as I'm staring at her, and I'm like, oh no, it's orphan, and I don't know what to do. And I'm sitting there, and this man's rattling about Outback, and this woman just like keeps putting this red lipstick on, and it's crazy town. And my husband taps me on the shoulder and goes, hey, Margot, can you refresh my memory? What's the last movie we saw in the theater again? And I go, no, we're not talking about this right now. So, and then she gets creepier. Like the waiter comes over and she's looking at the menu, and she won't speak directly to the waiter. She'll just whisper in the ear of her boyfriend. So he's like, well, what do you have, sir? And he's like, well, I'll have the steak. And he goes, and for you? And she goes, broccoli. And it's like, ah! And it's so terrifying. And she keeps doing this, and everything is whispered in this girl-woman voice. And it's terrifying. And I just keep thinking, I'm trying to focus on Outback, and then the woman next to me with the abusive Ted Bundy guy, she's talking about the Special K diet, how she ate Special K for lunch, Special K for dinner, Special K for breakfast, and she lost 20 pounds. And I'm like, eat a sandwich, and everything's crazy. And as this is happening, the maitre d' of the cruise comes over to our table, and he puts his hands on Orphan's shoulder, and then he goes, ah, and he's standing behind her, goes, oh, is everybody having a good time tonight? And we go, yes. And he goes, sir, I see you brought your daughter. And she turns around, and she looks at him, and he goes, okay. And so we had to excuse ourselves, because it just got like out of hand, and I had to leave. Like I just couldn't. I'm a very tolerant person, but I was so stoned, and it was so crazy. So we excuse ourselves, and we go back to the room, and we just laugh, and we laugh, and we laugh. And then the next day, we put in a request for the single table. If we could please have a single table, because we made up a story. We talked about we had religious differences with the table, but I just couldn't handle Orphan. And but we made up a story, and they let us sit at a table by ourselves for the rest of the cruise, and we had a wonderful time. And the next night, we toasted with the alcohol that we snuck in onto the cruise ship in Listerine bottles, and it was a wonderful, wonderful time. Thank you.
Keep it on for Margot Lightman. Definitely pick up her book.